So here's a question. What is enlightenment for you? Now, for most people, the idea of enlightenment is abiding in a permanent state of bliss. But the thing is that there is no state that can be permanent. So, chasing an idea of enlightenment itself becomes suffering. And I'll tell you a story which Robert Adam tells in his book. He says that once there was a jnani who was sitting on the side of a road with his head bent. And he was very quiet, not speaking to anybody. Then this young fellow comes along and he says that, I want to be your disciple. You struck me as a very knowledgeable person, as an enlightened person, and I want to be your disciple. So give me the teachings so that I can also become enlightened. And the jnani says that I am not a teacher. I have nothing to teach. But if you want, you can just sit beside me. And that's it. So the disciple sat beside him. And slowly, other people from the village area started approaching. So now there were people asking for all kinds of wishes, like some did not have job, so they were asking for job. There were people who were not able to conceive a child, so they were asking for that wish. Then there were people from different areas of life asking for different, expressing their feelings and asking for solutions to different problems. But Jnani did not say even a single word. He kept quiet. After a while, a beggar comes along. Not precisely a beggar, but someone who was in rags, completely wretched. And this man says, he speaks to the jnani and he says that I'm looking to go to the market area. Can you please show me the way? And the jnani gets up in excitement and he says, of course, I'm going to show you the way. So he picks up his stuff, the wretched man's stuff, and he walks with him for a couple of distance and he shows him the way. Now when he comes back, the disciple is a bit perplexed. So he asks the jnani that, when all the people, influential people and, all of them, they were coming to you with their problems, you did not speak a word. But now this beggar comes along and he asks for a direction and you just got up and went with him. Like, what is this? What are we missing here? So the jnani says that this wretched man was the only person who knew his way, who was absolutely sure what he wanted and he knew his way. While all the other people were hypocrites. Because they want to experience the absolute, but at the same time, they're desperate to solve their problems, the problems of daily living. So you see, enlightenment is not a solution to any of the problems. That's why Ramesh Balsekar said that what is enlightenment going to give you that you have not experienced before? And if your idea of enlightenment is to stay in a place of permanent bliss, then you will be disappointed, because there is no permanent state. Even the samadhi is not a permanent state. The highest meditation, the highest euphoric feelings that you experience, whether in meditation, whether while taking psychedelics or substances or anything, nothing ever stays permanent. So, the body is conditioned in such a way that it will always look for a solution. The mind is conditioned in such a way that it will always look for that one method, one way through which it can attain permanence. And true enlightenment is the realization that there is no permanence. There is no permanent state. And surprisingly, we see gurus today who are promising enlightenment in the comfort of your bedroom by awakening your third eye. All you have to do is just give them $1,000 and then they'll open your third eye. Even I can do that, and I'll be much cheaper. $20 only. Awaken your third eye within half an hour. All you have to do is just, focus on this area and keep chanting mantra. And you will experience everything, all the highest bliss you will experience. You know what is happening here? These people have sensed a vulnerability in you. They have sensed a weakness in your mind. And they are exploiting that weakness. This has been going on since many ages in the name of spirituality, spiritual awakening. And now it is happening in a different format, but it is still happening. Some call it ascension, some call it, by different names. Misery is search for wholeness when you yourself are the wholeness. So enlightenment is the realization that you seek what you are seeking what you already are. It is here and now, not in a future distance. It is not a function of time. So when you go to the gurus, the great masters, the so self-proclaimed great masters. Now, I won't say all of them are bad. Some of them are really genuine, but a majority of people out there have no clue. So they are always fixating you on a method. They're giving you a method to achieve a permanent state. And that, in my opinion, it's not going to lead you to any permanent state. It's not going to lead you to any happiness. In fact, all it will bring is misery, because now you are in constant eternal chase, because you begin thinking that there is something wrong with me, that I'm not able to achieve this while the others are achieving that. And there will be people who are psychologically manipulated, and they will give you testimonials also that, oh, I went to Maharaj Ji and then they touched me here and touched me here, and then they opened my chakras and everything was in alignment. So then Maharaj Ji becomes the, ultimate guru, the giver of enlightenment. All Maharaj Ji wants in return is a couple of $1,000, which is not very difficult, I believe. Now I'll read a quote from Ramana Maharishi, which is very direct and to the point. He says, "There is no mind to control if you realize the self. The mind having vanished, the self shines forth. In the realized man, the mind may be active or inactive. The self remains for him. Self is the source, your true nature. So it is your mind that is spending time in this contemplation of I should be enlightened. Why am I not enlightened right now? That once I get enlightened, all my worries will finish. But you see, mind has no clue as to what enlightenment is. Enlightenment is the absence of the mind. And whether the mind is active or inactive, the light of the self, the pure awareness, the pure non dual consciousness shines through and through. You already are where you want to go. And it is just a matter of realization. And this realization is not a personal realization. That is the most important thing to remember. It is not that the ego realizes that it is not enlightened or enlightened. The ego simply suspends, the ego mind suspends activity, knowing that it is not the doer of its actions. And that is surrender. And once the surrender happens, the acceptance comes along. That is an impersonal knowledge which penetrates the being. And then one abides in the being. Now, it does not change anything in life and living. You still experience all the problems of life, but now the thing is that the weight of those things which were troubling you earlier, like my money, my house, my relationships, my mortgages, my this, my that, the weight of those things begin to dissolve. So naturally you experience a sense of peace and harmony. Your relationships with other people change because now you know that you are not the doer, and you also realize that even the other is not the doer. We are all bound by our conditioning, and things are happening, but there is no individual doer of anything. What can be more clear than that? And the problem is that we all are immersed in doership. Now we want to achieve everything through effort, and we think that we are only worthy if we get it through effort. So enlightenment also becomes an object of desire for us. And the desire for enlightenment prevents enlightenment. This is the problem. The true enlightenment is that there is nobody here to get enlightened. What you're seeing here talking is just a programmed entity, which is just talking. And there on the other side, there is another programmed entity which is just listening. And this is not the reality. Reality is the consciousness that powers this organism and that organism. So mind can never understand, can never get a grasp on what enlightenment or self-realization is. The word self-realization is a bit misleading actually. There is no self to be realized. What Ramana Maharishi talks about is not the small personal self. He talks about the eternal self, the dimensionless, the one. Even to call it the one is misleading because one is also in relative to many. Therefore, you cannot describe, you cannot conceptualize that in any way. It is just pure awareness. To give it a name, it is just pure awareness.